And we're back, Scoreboard Addicts. I'm finally home where I belong. TJ's back too. TJ was out of town. T, why don't you talk to us about that? You just got back from playing St. Andrew's Old Course in Scotland.
Oh yeah. Even though I believe he was Welsh, right? Wasn't Sean Connery Welsh?
I was doing a Scotty impression.
Sounded like Sean Connery.
Scotty's Scottish.
That sounded like Sean. Red October standing by. Just me. So my wife's right now asking me if I want a different shirt because I look ridiculous. Apparently,
Lithium crystals are breaking up.
I can't do it, Captain. I don't have the power. Yeah, dude, Scotland, once in a lifetime trip. A little crazy. We flew out Saturday night. Me, my brother, Steven, my cousin Kyle, and Brian flew out Saturday night at 8 p.m. Landed at 8 a.m. 7-hour flight, 5-hour time difference. Got like zero sleep on the flight there, which was insane. Then walked around Edinburgh. Checked out the castle and all that good stuff.
They're called Edinburgh.
It's Edinburgh. You say it like that, somebody throws something at you. It's usually like a sheep too, something big, woolly animal. Then we drove the hour and 20 minutes to St. Andrews, just like through beautiful country. So you want to talk about like commuting to work, right? In Staten Island or through New York City, or for those of you who commute rather through like Jersey or Connecticut or anything like that, you just see crap. That's all you see is this crap, this god-awful nonsense. And our commute, the hour and 20 minutes it took to get to St. Andrews from Edinburgh, was just like beautiful countryside farmland. Like, oh my God, I could die here. Like, put me up on that hill. It was just gorgeous, rolling hills, like 5 traffic lights in the hour and a half we drove. Everything was like those roundabouts, which was kind of weird, but we got the hang of it as we went, or almost died, whatever. To each their own. And then hanging out in St. Andrews was just epic. It was good. Like, you would think a trip to Europe, like I would have liked to have my family there, but I told my wife when I got back, I was like, there would have been nothing for you and Alex to do. It was just golf and pubs. That's all we did.
In Scotland, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, that was in Edinburgh. You know, all the shops and stuff like that for Harry Potter and the Royal Mile, and essentially Edinburgh Castle was the inspiration, according to J.K. Rowling's. So that was cool, and you could definitely see the inspiration by looking up at this huge castle on the hillside. Not as impressive as Hogwarts, but still pretty damn cool because it's actually real.
Was that also the castle on the hill that Ed Sheeran was talking about?
I have no idea.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't listen to Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran's awesome. You need to support your fellow. Is he Irish? I don't think he's Irish.
Probably not.
I think he's English. Well, he's got red hair. Close enough.
Not even remotely close.
All Irish people have red hair. Everybody knows this.
That's not true at all. I don't have red hair.
You're not really Irish then. I don't have to tell you.
Your ass.
Black Irish.
Wow. I'm in. Sign me up. The few, the proud, the Black Irish.
Fucking A.
Oh, that's the Marines. My bad. Yeah, dude. No, but it was absolutely epic. Just going golfing in the morning, playing the old courses, you know, obviously once in a lifetime trip. Won it. We were hanging out at the Jigger Inn. That's with a J. The Jigger Inn. Everybody relax. Pump the brakes. Coop, don't cancel us yet. And it's right along the 17th, the famous road hole at the old course. It's literally right there. Just a wall separating you. Hanging out there. And we ran into there was a lot of Americans there. Just everybody there is playing golf. Everybody there is a tourist playing golf, essentially, unless you live in the town of St. Andrews or are a college student, which there's a big, beautiful university right there. So it's half college town, half locals, and then everything else is filled in. All the in-between is just Americans and other Europeans there to play golf. So we're hanging out there, and there's like 7 or 8 American guys, and they're talking about it, and they're going through the whole spiel of like, oh, we did this year so far. We've been here for a week playing golf, and we paid for this and that, and kind of like flaunting how much money they have. And we were like, yeah, we booked this, you know, like a little over a year ago. We won the lottery system. And the guy's like, oh, no way. I've been doing it for 3 years, and I haven't won the lottery system. We had to do like every other way to be able to play St. Andrews. Like they have a kind of a daily 2-day lottery drawing to fill in the gaps, but it's hard to get a foursome in. He's like, how long have you been putting in for it? And I said, this was my first year. So, got a little evil on him, but it made me feel good because my cousin thought like, oh, dude, everybody that puts in gets it. Apparently not. Apparently people like try for years and years, and we got it on the first, the first luck chuck. So I'll take that. That made me feel a lot better. Shoot 95 at the old course.
Look at the Irish.
Oh yeah. Dude, this awesome, weird. The all the stores in the town essentially close at 6 o'clock. The sun's up from 5 a.m. because you're so far up north. So right now the sun is up at 5 a.m. Sunset is at 9 p.m. So you got a lot of daylight, but the stores close at 6. A lot of the pubs close down at like 10:30, 11.
That makes me sad.
Yeah, it was weird. Because like the last night we were there, we did last call. We kind of essentially 11:30. We got it extended to because nobody wanted to leave the pub. So it was actually pretty cool. Everybody there friendly, very friendly. Kind of reminded me of when I went to Japan as a kid. How everybody's just overly friendly, like no sarcasm, no like sense of entitlement or being an asshole or anything like that. It was pretty cool. It's refreshing, like people genuinely like, oh, you guys are from America, and then like ask you questions, not just like, oh yeah, I'm acknowledging you, but I don't care. Like staring at you, genuinely interested. It was weird. It's like, you fucking with me, dude? No. Like, all right.
So Jason's been on our show. Talk about meeting people and Jason's been, he's on our show quite often.
Cheers, by the way.
Cheers. Unfortunately, Jason was supposed to be with us tonight. He's doing a show in Chelsea tonight. So obviously I've met Jason's wife quite a few times. We chat on the Facebooks and whatnot, but his wife is Canadian American. So she's from Vancouver. And she doesn't know Ryan Reynolds. And I was like, that's bullshit.
It's weird.
And that's what I said. I was like, how do you not know Ryan Reynolds? I was like, you guys are arguably around the same age. And there's only like 8,000 people living in Vancouver. There might be 2 high schools in Vancouver.
Odds are kind of great that you run into each other, right?
I'm saying I'm like, you got to know somebody that knows Ryan Reynolds. You got to. Like, I want to say like the population of Vancouver is like something ridiculously low.
I'm going to say like 500,000 people.
662,000.
Price is Right rules, baby. I d應go over, so we're
What
okay.
are the odds that you're arguably around the same age and you don't know anybody that knows him and you're from the same city of 5? Like, you can't move around Staten Island, which has argumentatively a very similar population. But everybody on Staten Island knows everybody from Staten Island. Like, you can't run into somebody that doesn't know. Like, if I walked outside right now and grabbed anybody in Staten Island, I guarantee you I can get 6 degrees of TJ Doyle.
Legit. Not even just Staten Island. Like, I mean, I've said it on here. When I got promoted to supervisor, Department of Sanitation, New York City, right? City hold
worker. I never would have guessed it with that T-shirt. I mean, what was a T-shirt?
What was a T-shirt? Now it's a muscle shirt. I lack of muscles. Don't come included. So what is it? New York City right now is a city of 7 million people.
No, more than that.
More than that?
Like, you talking about city actual, or are you talking about like metropolitan?
I think Manhattan is what, 7 mil, and then the city itself is 10 or 11, right? Total.
At any given moment, there are like something like 11 million people walking through.
Right. So I play hooky from being promoted because I had a cruise booked with my wife and my parents, and we're standing on a dock in Bermuda, and who's standing there but another dude that was playing hooky from our promotional class, standing on a dock in Bermuda, a fucking island that's like all of 20 miles long and like 2 miles wide, thousands of miles out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Run into one out of the 5,000 people on the cruise ship happens to be 1 out of 11 million people, and the guy I'm in class with, Mr. Leroy Jenkins. I shit you not, that's actually his name. We ended up going to this. Dude, had no idea about that. He literally had no idea. I would scream that shit at him when we were working together over the radio, and he would be like, yo, what does that mean? I'm like, you fucking serious? I'm like, nobody has screamed that at you? He's like, no. And I had to show him and explain to him what that shit was. But dude, out of 11 million people, right? I run into one dude in another country. So way more significant odds of her running into Ryan Reynolds.
I'll give you another one. I was in Puerto Rico. I'm talking to my cousin's husband, who's also a soldier in the United States Army. He goes, "Oh, a sergeant major I work with. He's from New York." I was like, "What's his name? Maybe I know him." He goes, "Nah, he's an older guy." I said, "Well, what's his name?" He goes, "Sergeant Major John Brett." I said, "That was my former battalion command sergeant major." No way. Like, what are the odds that this gringo, this Irishman from Staten Island, moves to Puerto Rico and he works with my cousin's husband?
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds? Shout out to Sergeant Major Brett. Good guy. If you want to get scuba diving lessons in Puerto Rico, go out to Culebra and go see John Brett, or as we like to call him, Juan Brett. And he'll square you away. His brother's name by chance is George Brett. And that brings us to our next segment.
I mean, I'm glad his name wasn't Brett Michaels, because that segment would have got weird.
Yeah. So talking about baseball, the New York Yankees, they picked it up a little bit this week. I believe they took three of three from the hapless Athletics, if not 2 of 3. I honestly wasn't paying too close of attention this week. I know they put a hurting on them. Actually, no, they took 3 of 3 from the Athletics. And this week they're going up against they're closing the week out against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, third inning right now, 0-0.
Yep, Rays are on fire right now. First place in the AL.
29-9.
Basement. 8 games behind the Rays.
Which is pretty significant considering they've only played like 38 games.
Yeah.
That's a significant 8 games difference. Listen, Tampa Bay was red hot. They came out of nowhere essentially. They came from Florida red hot, just dominating. Some of that Florida heat with them.
You know what? They are a good team. They are. But when you start to get the season, those first what do they win? Like 11 games straight or something like that? 20 games straight?
It wasn't 20, but it was
the first 9 games they played were against teams like the Athletics.
Right, which, I mean, but again, the Yankees have the ability to lose games like that. We always seem to have this conversation every year, how the teams that the Yankees should smoke, we end up just not showing up for. And it's always the same. It's the same culprits, dude. It's the A's. It's the friggin' Orioles. It's teams that, like, it's like, dude, what they're sub 500 baseball teams, and they take 2 or 3 from us.
Talking about the Orioles, they're 4.5 games out of first place, and they're on fire as well.
I know.
Orioles really good. And you know what? As somebody who's been to Camden Yards many a time in my life, it's good for them, good for their fans. And all it took was them moving back the wall 30 feet so that the Yankees couldn't hit home runs there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all it took was like, hey, we got to move that left field bleacher out like 25 feet, man, because we're the only ones that can't hit home runs that way.
Do you not find it odd that ball clubs can just kind of change the dimensions of a stadium like from year to year? Like the Mets did it. The Mets moved in the fence.
I love it.
It's weird, no? Like
I love it.
Like, what's to stop a team? I'm sure there's some kind of regulation, but what's to stop a team from being like, you know what? We're going to build our own green monster. We're going to call it something ridiculous. We're going to call it the Cookie Monster. We're going to paint it blue, and it's going to be like only 205 feet out there, but it's going to be a 70-foot wall, and it's in play.
I love it. I love it. Listen, you know what kills me is when you talk about other sports, you talk about home field advantage, home court advantage, home ice advantage. There's no such fucking thing. Every single rink, every single court, every single football field are exactly the same dimensions. If you can't play in your opponent's barn because the fans are booing you, you need to choose another fucking another business to be a part of. Like,
I would say the caveat being
it's ridiculous.
I would say the caveat being football stadiums, the difference between turf and mud fields.
Or also that if they're outdoors, the weather, it being cold if you don't normally play, or it being hot, that would be the only caveat. But baseball is really the only place that has a real home field advantage where, like, the Yankees rookie right fielder crashes into the wall at freaking the White Sox stadium and tears his ACL on an exposed outlet that only the White Sox know are there.
Right.
Like, that happened. That was real. Like knowing how to play a carom off the monster, knowing that the bat at Yankee Stadium will point which way the wind is blowing. If the knob is going in that direction, then you know, like, oh crap, that's which way the tunnel is going. Right. You know, Stuff like that, like back in the day when the Astros used to have the hill in center field, which I'm a strong proponent, bring the hill back.
True. Fact.
When they had that, knowing how to play that hill, that's home field advantage. When the Yankees used to have Monument Park in play.
Yeah.
That is home field advantage. If you're the center fielder and you don't know that monument is behind you, they might be burying you right next to him.
Dude, I would love, and I'm sure somebody has done it, but I would love to just see stats now, even just the old Yankee Stadium before they tore it down, the dimensions that it ended with when it got torn down versus when Babe Ruth played and Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris played. How many extra home runs would those gentlemen have hit? Like, because you're talking about changing records.
They brought in center field. But that's about it. Everything else was the same.
Right, but how many balls that ended up being doubles or outs were home runs?
The wall in right field was also not 10 feet tall back then, or 8, however tall it is now, 8 feet. It was like 2 feet. Like the wall around the bleachers, the seats were lower. So it was more like you were sitting third base side, first base side. That's how high the wall in the outfield was.
Gotcha.
And then also when Babe Ruth played baseball, if a ball bounced over the wall, it was a home run.
That's still insane.
They didn't have ground rule doubles. And my question is, and nobody seems to have an answer about this. Like Babe Ruth hit 714 home runs. None of them bounced over the wall. Not one. So he played like baseball for like 13 or 14 years. He never once hit one ball that bounced over the wall. Because you wouldn't know like from the scorecard, because the scorecard reads home run. It doesn't say bounced into seats home run. It just says home run.
Right.
So like, are we sure that all 714 were legitimate?
I mean, well, that is the case if anybody's ever scored a baseball game in the book, there is no difference than hitting a hard line drive single and a seeing eye bloop single. It all goes down in the book as the same.
Yep. A screaming line drive and a dying quail, a freaking tweener, a duck. They all look the same. At least in the book they do.
Yep.
And I will die on that hill because I've hit many a dribbler that in actuality were screaming line drives. Just ask me about it. But I digress. The Mets are also not doing too great right now. The Mets are in 4th place in their respective division. 7.5 games behind the Atlanta Braves, which I think we both predicted that the Braves would have a good season this year. I think we're all a little bit surprised about the Yankees struggling as they are.
Yeah.
But, that's what happens when your pitching staff gets injured. And it seems like Carlos Rodon won't pitch this year. I mean, we got this guy over the offseason, big expectations for him. And here we are now, and he hasn't pitched yet this season. It's May. Are we going to see him before the All-Star break? I have no idea. And it seems like he's got chronic back issues. And I'm I've been questioning Cashman and his ability as a general manager for years. The fact that he still has a job is incredible. But then again, our owner is lackluster. So, I mean, if George were still alive, God bless him. I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent, but he'd have been firing people left and right already. He wouldn't have stood for this. This is like, and again, I'm not saying that he'd be right for firing people. I'm saying is he would have tried something new by now. Like the definition of insanity is running the same thing out there over and over again, expecting it to make a difference.
Right.
But I think the Yankees and the Mets have very different struggles right now. Yankees, obviously, they're having pitching struggles here and there, other than Garrett Cole, who's showing to be possibly a Cy Young Award contender, if not winner this year. Mets can't score runs worth a damn outside Pete Alonso, who I believe is leading the National League or Major League Baseball in home runs right now. But what does that mean if nobody's on base in front of you? It only counts for one. So New York baseball is not looking too great right now, unfortunately. But surprises up about a month of the season already gone, and some nice surprises. Obviously, the Baltimore Orioles, as we said, are a nice surprise. The Detroit Tigers are 3 games out of first place.
Crazy,
right? What happened to the Cleveland Guardians?
They changed the name and went to the shitter.
Texas Rangers are in first place, which I think is hilarious because Met fans were just bagging on DeGrom, who I think is injured right now, for going to Texas, saying he'll never win anything over there. And the Mets are in 4th place and the Rangers are in 1st. Atlanta leading the NL East, which was not a surprise. What is a surprise is the Phillies under 500, 7 games back. The National League defending champs. I think the surprise. What's up?
I was going to say a little ridiculous. No, like that's a bad start.
I don't think so. And the only reason I say that is because baseball is becoming like the other sports where everybody makes the playoffs. So you don't have to be good to have a good series, you know?
Yeah.
You don't have to be a good team overall to accidentally make the playoffs because everybody makes it now. And then just go on a little streak. Go on a little streak where you win 8 games, 9 games. You'll be in the World Series. And then you get spanked by whoever is playing you. There's actually a good team.
A little sick.
But the Phillies are no-shows right now. I think the surprise of the year for any major sport in America, the Pittsburgh Pirates are in first place.
Yeah.
Now, they're not handsomely in first place. They're not destroying first place. But they're in first place. And you know what? Let's clap it up for our buddies over there at the Pirate Land because they've been sad for quite a while. And they are loyal. They die hard out there in Pittsburgh. But fuck them over 1960. They made Mickey Mantle cry. Fuck those people.
And we don't particularly like your shitty hockey team.
St. Louis Cardinals, 8 games out of first place in the basement.
Fuck you, Joe Buck.
A classic. And of course, the Los Angeles Dodgers are in first place. No surprise there. I am surprised about the San Diego Padres because I've been told for years that they were going to run the NL East. I've been told that at least for like 4 seasons, that they were going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and they were going to run the East, and they were going to buy Machado, and they were going to have Tatis, and they were going to buy this guy, and they going to buy that guy, and they got the pitching, and they were going to be the bee's knees and the cat's pajamas. And they're still the San Diego Padres.
Honestly, it couldn't happen to a nicer ball club because after those 60-year-old men came up with that song for the Padres going into the playoffs.
No,
their little what?
What about the 2 kids? The 16-year-old kids made like a video. I can't even remember what it was.
Oh yeah. That was which came first? The older guys were first, right? And then the 2 kids were last year or the year before.
I feel like the kids were. I feel like the kids were last year, the year before,
right?
But
so douchey,
it was most heinous, and it just it was a California. It was a play on California Love by Dre and Tupac, and
I think that was last year.
It was last year. Cringy as the He's a Marine video that made me want to cry too. And if you haven't seen the He's a Marine video and you're in the military, I would tell you not to watch it, but I feel like that would be not the right thing to say. Watch that video. Go find it on YouTube. It's called He's a Marine from TikTok. And some dependa just ruined my life. Coop, you're a Marine. Go watch that video if you haven't seen it yet. But yeah, Padres are in the basement. But talking about the Texas Rangers being in first place, a nice surprise for those Rangers. And this is my pivot point right here. We talk about our Rangers. Now, it's this sad time of this season right now. The New York Rangers been eliminated from playoff contention by the fucking New Jersey Devils. Ugh. And, as far as the
gross
Rangers are concerned,
I will remember you.
Yeah. New York Rangers get rid of their head coach, Gerard Gallant. And I think the writing was on the wall. You can't have a showing like that with that much talent. And after spending the money that the Rangers spent and making the moves that the Rangers made, literally to the nickel of the cap limit, right? And the production you got out of them is what it is. And I'm not saying it's 100% on the coach, but if you can't motivate that group of guys, it's on you. It's got to be on you, 100%.
Did you think at all, so when the news broke that Gallant was not coming back, it was broken as it was a mutual split. Do you think so what I think happened was he was fielding questions about potentially being fired, at which point he got annoyed and was like, I think it's ridiculous that I have to answer these questions.
Right.
And I'm starting to think that maybe he went to the Rangers, was like, you know what? I'm tired of fucking everybody second guessing me. I'm tired of this, and I want out. And the Rangers go, well, we were gonna fire you anyway. So
I don't think so. I honestly think that he was getting the shit end of the stick, if you will. Again, I'm not trying to say it's completely on him, but you have that much talent in a room, you have to do something with it. And I really didn't like his demeanor. Like, he was known as a tough guy in the league when he played, and he was a fighter, and he was a rough, gruff, rugged guy. And like, there was just no fire behind the bench.
You want to see a little out there,
dude? And you know what? After last year with him, obviously we saw the tone of the Tampa Bay series going, and it was getting gritty. And he sits Ryan Reeves for the last 2 games. What are you doing? Why would you take that element out of it? I understand that Ryan Reeves wasn't a threat to score, okay? But at least he skated, he played hard, and he got physical, and that's what you want to do against the team, especially when they have the talent level over you, because last year, definitely, the Tampa Bay Lightning had the talent level over the Rangers.
Inexplicably sacked Kakko, too, last year.
Right. And there was just no fucking answers, and the media is a bunch of shills. They don't give a shit enough. They aren't fans. Let's get that out there. Sports media at this point, they don't employ fans. They employ people that could throw frivolous words out there and know, English real good.
I'm going to correct you there. New York sports media aren't fans. I don't even like the sports that they cover. But from what I've seen from the Packers beat, those guys are fanboys of the Packers, because they're just
the team is owned by fans. So
yeah, they're flat out delusional. So New York beat people in any sport hate whatever team they cover. I don't know why they hate them, but they hate them.
Douchebags.
The only beat person that ever liked the team that he covered, I think, was Michael Kay, and that's why he left the beat, became a media personality, and now covers the Yankees for the Yankees.
Ruins, shutouts and perfect game bids and no hitters and. So either way, even if he's a fan, he's still a dick.
Yeah, he's a mush.
So, but it's irritating. So last year, we talked about how Gallant kind of shit the bed with that, and nobody called him out on it. And then this year, I'm sorry, at some point, and I understand when the game's on the line, game 6, you can't do it. But after game 4, I sit Panarin for game 5. I sit him. I say, dude, congratulations. Ride the pine. Don't even get dressed. Don't even fucking show up, because you haven't showed up this series. So don't bother showing up tomorrow night. Just to make set a tone. You know what I mean? Just get it out there that it's not going to be tolerated that you just like float around along the ice and do zero.
Are you saying this about Panarin?
You're a phony.
He was a phony. Absolute poser. So you just. And the moves that Gallant made throughout the year, changing up the lines and doing like odd things. I know it pissed my father off to no end when, especially on the power play, he was moving Zibanejad out of the position that he was scoring from in the high slot and had him kind of floating down low. That killed my father. My father's like, why the fuck would you do that? You see the kind of offensive prowess that he has up at the top of the slot, ripping slap shots and one-timers, and then you move him down low. Why bother?
I'm a big believer in any sport, in chemistry and knowing where you're going to be or who you're going to be with. We talk about this in baseball. It ticks me off that Aaron Boone has a new lineup there every night. You have no idea where you're going to bat in the lineup. You have no clue. It ticks me off that Gallant switches to the lines every night. You're like, I don't know who's playing what. The kid line might be together. They might not be together. It'll tick me off when they're sitting there switching up who's playing where on the offensive line in football or defensive line, or you're switching out how many minutes somebody's sitting there playing in a game. Basketball, I mean, I'm sure they have their picadillos that they're all about, but there's chemistry that goes along with playing. And I think this year the Rangers relied on previous chemistry far too much. And when I say previous chemistry, I mean something like Kane having played with Panarin 7 years ago and going, oh, well, we're best friends, so we like to play together. And the Rangers being like, well, we got to make that happen because they were good 7 years ago.
Right.
I mean, to me, like, it's 2023. Let's stop pretending like it's 7 years ago and what worked 7 years ago is going to work now. It doesn't translate that way. That's not sports. That's not anything. You can't sit there and predict that something that happened 6 years ago is going to affect what happens today. People grow, people change. people learn how to play. If you were effective last year together, that doesn't mean you're going to be effective this year because other teams grow and they figure out the game plan as well. So I think we relied on previous success in different situations far too much. We had too many opportunities to capitalize on things that we should have capitalized on. There was far too many missed nets, far too many missed passes. It was like if the puck bounced, it wasn't bouncing our way. Our guys weren't picking it up. Too many pockets. Puck security was non-existent. Couldn't get across the blue line. There was a lot of issues. The only bright spot for that entire Rangers team was Igor Shesterkin. God bless him. Who do you want to see come in as the new head coach?
I don't even know who's out there right now as far as availability goes.
So I saw something. I saw a cool video from the Flyers. And basically, it was a video. And it wasn't their current head coach. Obviously, it's John Tortorella, and we've already walked that road, and we already did that. But honestly, the back of my mind, I want to say it was Scott Gordon, maybe. But it was a video from years ago, not recent, where he basically goes into that locker room and tore everybody to pieces. And somebody was saying, that's the kind of guy that the Rangers need. Somebody to go in at the end of the period and go, you guys have been shit for the last fucking 20 minutes. What excuse are we going to use this week? Was basically the question. Like last game, we said, X, Y, Z. This game, we're saying, what are we saying this week? Because we already had our excuses last week. So what's our excuse going to be this week? Because I'm tired of your fucking excuses. And I think the Rangers might need something like that.
You know what they should do? He should hire Jeremy fucking Roenick. Bring Jeremy Roenick as the coach. Listen, analytical wise, he was great breaking down games and doing the color in between periods and stuff like that. He knows the sport of hockey. Tremendous American-born player, right? Bring him in. Give him a year. Let him know, like, hey, none of this soft boy, soy boy bullshit. Toughen him up. Get him nasty. Get some grit. And get him playing like a unit. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
The guy's still around hockey, right? Well, he was. At least now he's doing his own deal because he got fired over some BS. If you don't know about that, just look it up. He made a joke about essentially having a threesome between his wife and his wife's friend, who obviously they're friends. He probably makes that joke all the time when they're all together. Friends, with the wife's friend and her husband and all that stuff, makes a goof and he gets shit canned for it, as if you're not allowed to say that. No, you can't make jokes about familiarity. What's up?
For Disney, right? He was on ESPN, right?
Yes.
Oh, are we surprised? It's Disney, man. Come on. Pat McAfee's thinking about going to ESPN. I'm like, yeah, don't do it. Bro. They're going to censor you.
Dude, ESPN sucks. I don't watch ESPN. I don't follow ESPN on Twitter. I actually block ESPN on Twitter because I get sick of all their bullshit. Like, dude, don't get political. I come to the sports realm to just find out scores and hear the da-na-na, and see an amazing play. Like, I don't want to hear your political opinion. I don't give a shit. I give a fuck who you vote for, what you think about this or this situation. If it has nothing to do with sports, I don't give a shit about it. And I don't want to hear your take on it either.
So talking about what we don't give a shit about. Devils play the Hurricanes tonight, and the Hurricanes are up 3-1. It's 1-1 here in the second period. Kraken play the Stars. Series is tied at 2-2. Obviously, the other four remaining teams being the Panthers and Leafs, the Oilers and the Knights. Any predictions moving forward?
Yeah, I said it in Series 1. I think Florida's the dominant team. I really do. I think they got the chemistry and they got the ability to score while also playing a nasty, dirty game along the boards. And it's just That's what you want to see, dude, right? Like that's playoff hockey.
So for those of you who are not hockey savvy, dirty and nasty are compliments.
It is. It is.
Well, ish. Depends on the context in which you're going to say dirty.
Not dirty hits, but dirty like getting your hands dirty, getting physical. So I still think the Florida Panthers are going to win it all after the first series, and they're absolutely kicking the shit out of Toronto right now. I think Toronto.
Do you find it sad that the Panthers might win it all and they don't have fans?
Not really. I'm going to find it irritating when all of a sudden there's like 1,000 extra Florida Panthers fans. Like when you go to Florida on vacation and it's like, oh, all of a sudden, huh? Real nice.
Those are going to be whoever they're playing. That'll be the opposing team's fans wearing Florida jerseys because if they don't, they won't be allowed
in the stadium. Yeah, we've discussed that before. We hate that. That's the most
bush shit I've ever heard in my life.
It's embarrassing, dude. And that's again, you got to act like you've been there before, right?
Wow. Platinum glove winner Anthony Rizzo with an error on a routine ground ball because he didn't get in front of it. And we're going to go to a commercial break from our sponsor.
Underdog Fantasy is here to save your post-fantasy football season blues. The easiest place to play and win with the Underdog Fantasy app. Get up to 20 times your money in a single night with our Pick'em contests. Grab some insurance when setting your picks and win even when one pick fails. Go online now and use the promo code Scoreboard to double your deposit up to $100. Sit gingerbread, good girl.
And that is Underdog Fantasy for all your fantasy needs. And TJ, what are you drinking?
Guinness.
A Guinness. That's it.
Oh yeah. Good? Play my intro.
Whiskey of the week.
Roll that beautiful bean footage. This week's whiskey of the week. It was actually last week's whiskey of the week because I was coming off literally killing half the bottle at my future brother-in-law Paulie's bachelor party. Another golf weekend, back-to-back golf weekends. My wife either has like a dude on the side and doesn't mind me leaving, or just doesn't even notice that I'm not around. Weird.
Dude on the side.
Maybe it's like a chick on the side. But then I get like the raw situation where it's like I got kind of bored. So I went in the kitchen and made a sandwich.
What kind?
I forget what was it? A
little mustard?
Turkey, little mustard.
Sounds good.
It was. So this is Old Forester 100 proof, right? This is one of the cheapest great whiskeys you can get. If you're starting a bourbon collection, if you're new to bourbon and looking just to get the typical flavors, the traditional bourbon flavors in a package that'll run you about, I think I paid $26 for this bottle. 100 proof, has the kick, has the firepower, but doesn't have the burn. You know what I mean? Very easy sipper. I don't think it gets better for starting out a bourbon collection. An under $30 bottle, Old Forester 100 proof. So get a little smell. It's just the quintessential bourbon. Nothing crazy. You're not going to sit here and be like, oh, I smell almonds and figs or anything. No. You get the caramel, a little vanilla, a little barrel char on it, but just a very sweet and a little bit of a spice to it. And the one thing I love about this, and I get this on every Old Forester I've tried so far, especially the like 1910, 1920, everything on the whiskey row. There's a banana there. There's a hint of banana there. And call me crazy, but I can always pick it up. The second I sip on an Old Forester, it's front and center. It's that note to it. Kind of reminds me of how you can often on a Booker's bourbon from Jim Beam. Jim Beam has a very peanutty flavor profile to it. Old Forester to me always has a banana, but other than that, you get the smooth caramel, the hint of vanilla, I would say a little bit of oakiness, but not a lot. It's definitely not an oaky whiskey. You get a little hint of it, but mostly just a sweet, traditional, perfect bourbon to ease somebody into the realm of bourbon. So $26, Old Forester 100. Can't beat it. What do you got going, Nick?
I'm drinking same as you, man. I'm drinking a little bit of a classic, something to build your bullet repertoire, or excuse me, not bullet, bourbon repertoire. I'm drinking bullet bourbon, nice. Frontier whiskey. Along the same vein, $25 a bottle for $7.50. Very smooth. As I said, I always say I drink my alcohol with ice because I like my alcohol cold. Nothing wrong with that. You know what? I always tell people, and I've said it before, I say it again. Nobody's got to drink your drink but you. If you want to throw friggin' sugar in it, by all means. You want to mix it with Coke, by all means. I don't care. Just don't ruin my drink.
Facts. But I will say this. I was watching the TikToks, if you will.
Oh, that guy?
Dude, this dude.
Are you talking about that guy?
The dude that took out the Pappy 23 and mixed it with Coke.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about poured whiskey in a glass and threw it out and was like,
oh, no, not that dude. That's less offensive. It's only a little splash of whiskey. This dude's like, you have your whiskey how you want to have it. Like I have this Pappy 23, which if you don't know, if you can get it at MSRP is like $200 something bottle. Nothing crazy, right? But pricey. In reality, on the secondhand market, which is essentially the only way to get it, unless you're lucky enough to hit a lottery pick in one of the states that regulate alcohol, it's like a $7,000 bottle of whiskey. And I watched this dude pour it in a glass over ice and then pour Coca-Cola on it. And again, you do you. And who am I to judge? But when I'm sitting here, like I will never probably get a sip of that alcohol in my life. And you just poured Coca-Cola over it, completely ruining the 23 years of work that went into that bourbon as if it was old number 7 Jack Daniels. That's the one place I like to draw the line and be like, if I could, I'd kick you in the head.
Well, but that's not because you're mad that they disrespected the drink. It's because it would be like a billionaire setting $100 bill on fire.
Yeah, just because you could do it doesn't mean you should. It's still shitty.
Well, it's rude to the rest of us that wish we had it.
100%.
That's the only reason. It's rude to the rest of us.
Yeah. Like if you literally were like, hey, listen, I'm going to give you a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle 23 year, but I'm going to fucking tase you and pepper spray you whenever I want this entire year. And I'd be like, oh, all right, fuck it. Cool.
That might be worth it, bro. I might actually buy that for you just under those circumstances.
Just to tase and pepper spray me whenever you want?
Yeah, a ton of views.
We would get a ton of views. I would have to be very elusive, but like I feel like every time I went to sit down and take a nice hearty dump or a shower or something like that, like there would just be no peace in my life.
Jump out from behind the curtain. Gotcha. You're on the floor shitting yourself while your eyes are on fire.
Dude, I mean, is that not, as a man, is that not the most defenseless position you could be in?
Literally catch you with your pants down.
Like, oh, that'd be so, oh my God. That maybe I'd have to rethink that. For you, we'd have to change the parameters of that. We'd have to have like a time out. Got to take a poop. I fell on my keys.
But Bullet Bourbon Frontier Whiskey is the standard Bullet that everybody knows and loves. It's not the rye. The rye comes in green. This is obviously orange.
I'm glad you brought up the rye, by the way, because when I was an old fashioned guy before I was really a bourbon straight neat or even over ice guy. I liked old fashions, and we kind of we progressed our whiskey journey together. We were Scotch guys for the longest time, and then we moved over to
guy.
So am I. Don't get me wrong. And I was drinking Scotch over in Scotland.
I would hope so.
Awesome. By the way, you want to talk about like here you get Lagavulin 16, which is like at this point almost $100 bottle. And if you get a Macallan 12, very nice. I got a bottle sitting up there somewhere. Lagavulin 16, about $100 bottle. But if you get a pour of it, it's usually going to run you 20 something bucks. Over there in Scotland, it was like £6, 50 pence, something like that. So I was slamming that down, a little Old Band 14, always delicious. And a couple other things that I was like, yeah, I'll try that. Balmore 15. That was really good. I'm a peated guy myself. But speaking about Bullet, somebody made me an old fashioned with Bullet Rye. I was actually in Disney. I was in Disney on vacation. We were eating at the Turf Club, which is in Saratoga Springs, their steak restaurant there. Very nice. And I asked for an old fashioned, and she said, "Is this okay?" And pulled out a bottle of Bullet Rye. And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so." And it was tremendous. And it started my love of that spiciness that's associated with rye in an old fashioned, because it's one thing when you do put ice over whiskey, and as you continue your bourbon and whiskey journey, you want to taste those things more, and you need something to cut through the dilution, if you will. And the flavor from the rye always cuts through very nicely. And then obviously I'm a proof guy, so anything with a little extra proof is very good when you're going to put, ice on it or water or dilute it with other ingredients. So Bullet Rye was like the first rye in my journey down that side of whiskey to be like, holy shit, ryes belong in old fashions.
Talking about bullets. We're all hoping Aaron Rodgers has plenty of bullets to throw this season as the Jets pick up 6 primetime games for this upcoming year, to include, I believe, opening game. It will be 9/11, but we don't know who. I believe they're releasing the schedule tonight, Thursday. And I honestly hope it's the Giants. I would like to open on 9/11 against the Giants. I think that's a big deal for New Yorkers. It'd be pretty cool.
Who gets the home game this year?
I want to say the Jets do.
Yeah.
I want to say the Jets do, because we were talking about the opening day is a big deal. And they asked a bunch of the players, like, hey, who do we open up against? And somebody said, I want to open against, I can't remember what team they said. And you heard somebody in the background go, we don't even play them this year. So it's nice to know the players' heads are in the game. Not much news in football going on. Only news that came out as of this week is apparently Bill Belichick went out of his way to screw the Jets in the draft and trade that pick to the Steelers for less than what was required, simply because he knew they'd take the Jets, everybody perceived to be the Jets pick. Robert Saleh came out today and said, au contraire, mon frere, we were always picking our guy, and we got our guy, Will McDonald. Aaron Rodgers is out there in New York, and he's said to be the happiest he's been in years, and he actually does look quite young. He shaved up a little bit, got a little bit of a trim, shaving a haircut, 2 bits, and he looks happy. You know what? Good for him. Sometimes a change of scenery is all everybody needs.
I mean, and if you listen, he's been in the spotlight for how long now? And he's married to a movie star, so he's got the little bit of exposure to the LA life, right? But you come out to New York City, the city that never sleeps. It's just a little bit different than shitty winters in Green Bay, right? Just a tad. There's like more open, not just that one corner deli that's like, oh, hey, you need some beer, eh? Like you're fucking South Canada. That's what you are in Green Bay. That's all you are. I mean, you get that much snow and it's that cold. You should be playing hockey the whole time. I don't even know why you have a football team, especially a football team playing out in the elements. Oh, it's awesome. The Lambeau Leap. It's freezing cold. Like, nobody likes playing there. Nobody likes freezing their balls off. Like, it's such bullshit. It really is. And the funniest thing to come out of this Aaron Rodgers trade is how bitter and miserable those Green Bay fans are.
Oh, they're very bitter.
Right?
Yeah.
But I guess I would be bitter and miserable too if I lived in like a shitty version of, I don't know, like some kind of weird movie that, like, it's like a gulag, essentially. They live in Siberia. Right? Like, am I wrong? Like, I feel like everybody there, all they do is shovel their sidewalks and eat soup. Like, that's their life.
They drink a lot. I'll say that much.
That's anywhere. That's anywhere. But now you get Aaron Rodgers who comes out here. He can finally get a decent slice of pizza, right? Finally, like, oh, this is what pizza's supposed to be? It's not just crackers and ragu and string cheese. It's like, nah, dude, you've been missing out. And then I'm sure at this point, everybody's just throwing money at him. You know what I mean? I don't think that guy's probably been busy every day since he signed here, taking phone calls, or at least his agent and his people have been on. Dude, you're going to see him on every bus stop, right? it's going to be like, hey, welcome to the Staten Island Ferry. I'm Aaron Rodgers.
If he wins, I mean, that's all it takes. By the way, Aaron Rodgers not married.
Oh, dating.
Yeah, he dated Olivia Munn. He dated forget her first, Shailene Woodley.
Woodley.
I don't really know her from anything, but
I thought they were married. My mistake.
They were engaged, and they ended their engagement.
Did they?
Because he's a strong, proud man who don't need no woman.
Didn't he like totally shun his family for her or some shit?
I have no idea.
That was the rumor that like he'd associate with his family.
All I care about is him getting the football in his hands and throwing passes and completions to people wearing green jerseys.
It's crisp downfield.
Helmet.
I mean, listen, if it can't get done this year, the Jets are just cursed forever.
He should have wore 12. He should have wore 12.
I agree.
But that's all for football. And then we're off into our only successful team right now in New York. But before we do, one more time, a word from our sponsor.
Underdog Fantasy is here to save your post-fantasy football season blues. The easiest place to play and win with the Underdog Fantasy app. Get up to 20 times your money in a single night with our Pick'em contests. Grab some insurance when setting your picks and win even when one pick fails. Go online now and use the promo code Scoreboard to double your deposit up to $100. Sit gingerbread, good girl.
Underdog Fantasy for all your fantasy needs. And as we talk about the New York Knicks going up in the series against the Miami Heat, or the Miami Jimmy Butlers, whatever you want to call them, but the Heat are up 3-2 right now. The Knicks they're competing.
Tomorrow at 7:30?
Tomorrow at 7:30, they commence some, at least from this foxhole, some questionable comments from the Knicks over the course of the last few weeks. Julius Randle had a post-game interview to which he kind of said, I mean, he does this a lot, honestly. He just said something along the lines of like, well, maybe they want it more. Like, I guess the Heat just want it more. It feels like they want it more. And I am just at a loss. Like what? Like, like who says stuff like that?
A prima donna.
Like, why would you ever, even if you were talking about certain players on your own team, that is not a question. Like that's not something to suggest in the media to like about anybody, whether it be on your team or whether it be, whatever. Like it just, you don't say that. Maybe they want it more.
I think for many reasons, basketball isn't our sport, but I think the biggest thing is it's just a soft league now. Dude, basketball players are the biggest whiny bitches, I think, in sports. I really do. Dude, it's one of the only sports, right? It's kind of leaking into others where, like, if you're a superstar player, you can essentially tell ownership, like, hey, I'm not playing for you anymore unless you fire this coach because I don't like him. And he could be a great coach, but that team's going to fire that coach every time. They just give these guys whatever the hell they want, and it's embarrassing. Dude,
yeah.
You want to make the sport more entertaining, you want to make the sport more competitive, start holding these guys game checks. Like, yeah, no, we're not paying you unless you win the series. You don't get paid to play if you win.
Thing is what kills me. The sitting out thing is what kills me on basketball. That you paid big money to go watch LeBron James play, but he's only going to play 50 games this year. And then LeBron sexuals are going to brag about how he's better than Jordan. Well, Jordan played 82 games his whole life. For 14 seasons, he played 82 games. At age 40, he played 82 games. Yep. LeBron is 2 years younger and can't play 82 games. So to try to sit there and pretend like the guy who wears Jordan's number is better than Jordan, that's ridiculous. But I think as I feel like it's a normal thing now for Julius Randle to kind of be at odds with Knicks fans.
Yeah.
Because this isn't the first time. I believe sometime last year he took some sort of offense to being booed for playing poorly, which I understand nobody wants to get booed. But at the same token, I think I can't. I want to say it was Derek Jeter, and you know me, I'm not the biggest Derek Jeter fan, though I am a Yankee fan. I always felt that he got way too much credit for things that he never did. He said something along the lines of like, New York fans boo you because they want to cheer you. Something's got to come out. And it's not it's not untrue. It's not. I understand the sentiment. I am not the type to boo my own team or boo my own player, specifically one player. I'm not going to individualize one person to pick on. If I'm going to boo, I'm going to boo at everybody because you win and you lose as a team.
I agree. And I think some fans take too much pleasure in booing their team and just being a pessimist and being just downright nasty. But at the same time, I am a firm believer in if you earn it, you own it. So don't sit there and turn it around on the fan base like, oh, like, you know, we work hard. Yeah, everybody works hard for the most part.
Yeah.
You know? But you get to sit there and play a kid's game and get paid a lot of money and be on TV and play in Madison Square Garden, what every kid grows up dreaming about doing. And then you're going to sit there and bitch about it or whine about something. It's like, dude, no one feels bad for you. Fuck you. I'll take your place right now. You don't even have to pay. I'll pay to take your place.
You can stop crying. You can start to cry about people booing you when they start holding back your checks because you're getting booed.
Right.
Then I feel bad for you. Like, oh, this guy's got like a Porsche he's got to pay for this week. And we booed him. And now based on the decibel levels of our booing, he ain't getting paid. Like he's got child support to pay, man.
Who was it? The Knicks that ended up leaving because he said, I got mouths to feed, and he turned down like $11 million a year.
Oh, I don't know.
Shit. Oh my God.
I always find it hilarious when any professional athlete complains about I've got mouths to feed and they're multimillionaires.
I can't believe names on the tip of my tongue.
I think that's so ridiculous. Oh, I got mouths to feed. Yeah, and you're a multimillionaire. People are doing it on $30,000, and you're complaining about not making $50 million. People doing literally $30,000. People paying their people.
Latrell Sprewell declined a $21 million NBA contract, saying, "I got a family to feed."
Can't feed a family with $21 million. How many Jordans my kids wear? In the words of P. Diddy.
Dude, this is ridiculous.
You know, I own 3 Kookaroos. How many Kookaroos you own? But we're always reporting on Knicks. Hopefully tomorrow, Knicks show up, Knicks tape all day, win the damn game. Hopefully, somehow Julius Randle decides to say, we want it more this time. And the Knicks come back with a win. We go to game 7, we win, we move on, and we give New York City and these Knicks fans everything that they deserve. And with that being said, that wraps us up. We're out. We'll catch you next week. Forecheck, back check, paycheck.
I like the intensity. That was nice.